Job 9. So this chapter was kind of hard for me to understand. There were so first Job said that how can mere mortal prove their innocence before God? So he wants to have like a case before God, but he also knows that God is all powerful and is the judge. So he wants to dispute because he believes he's innocent, but he doesn't know why God is letting these things happen to him. And I think he's also in the same camp where he feel like God is like afflicting him. God is letting all these things happen to him. So even if he wished to dispute with God, human cannot answer God. God's power is vast, his wisdom is profound. No one resisted him, and I wonder why it said no one resisted him and come out unscathed. That means it says right here, like it talks about how God's power are. He makes the stars, the constellations. Well, the constellation, not the, but implying the stars too, I guess. He performed wonders and miracles. They cannot perceive him. They cannot see him. Who can say to him, "What are you doing?" But it also said God does not restrain his anger. I do think God is very patient, and the whole Bible talks about how God is patient and is slow to bring wrath. And then it said, who can find words to argue with him? Because wisdom is more than ours. And so he believed that he is innocent, but he can only plead with God, the judge, for mercy. So he recognizes God is his judge. So Job does not believe that God would give him a hearing and would crush him and multiply his wound with no reason. So there are like passages like these that like it's hard for me to understand why Job would think that way, because God, we know of God is wanting for our good, an advocate for us, someone who is not unreasonable. He created reason, so he is reasonable. He has his own reason. There might be things where we don't know what his reason is, but that doesn't mean that he does things without a reason. And right here it said that God would overwhelm Job with misery because pretty much he is mighty. If it's a matter of justice, who can challenge him? So Job knows that God is just and merciful, but he also is saying like God is going to strike him without reason, and that he will overwhelm Job with misery, and he can't challenge God in the realm of justice, even though he feel like he's being punished, even though he's innocent. So it's like I think he's in a very like conflicted and state, and so some of it is just hard to reconcile my knowledge of God with what Job thinks of God at this moment. So like Job, so Job is saying because he have no concern for himself, and he believe himself to be innocent, but he doesn't care about his life at this point, that he feels like it is the same, that God destroyed both the blameless and the wicked. And I think that is the statement to which his friends, like God trigger his friends, and his friend is that trigger his friends to say no, God like caused the blameless to flourish while only the wicked is cut off. Um,
Good. One more thing.
so verse 22 to 24, I don't understand why people say that Job doesn't doesn't sin. I think when he talks about this, where he thinks that God like mocks the despair of the innocent and blindfold is judges. I don't think God does that. I think that's a wrong understanding of God. And right here, so he again said that his days are very short, and like, yeah, so it's like even if Job washed himself with soap, and then that God would plunge him into a slime pit. Like these, these are, so then just hard for me to understand and reconcile with. I don't think Job is saying all the correct thing. I don't think, yeah. So in verse 32, it says that, then he wished that there was someone to mediate between him and God, and to ask to remove God's rod from him. So I think he also thinks that he's being disciplined for some reason, and he used the word terror. God's terror would frighten him no more, and that's hard to reconcile. But right now he's afraid to speak up, because of his fear for God. But he wished for a mediator so that he can speak up without fear. And I think God already planned for a mediator to come ever since the beginning, and that is Jesus Christ.